I have Democrat strategists who do believe that, the president is going to run. They do think he should be worried about the polls where America is saying they're worried about, 80-year-old, almost 81-year-old President Biden in his age and kind of these slip ups that he has.
Hey, everyone, inside the White House with Reagan Reese. I think this sounds like a new show. Reagan's gotta take it up, right? Do a new show. Reagan Reese works for the Daily Caller. She is going to be on the show with me today on the Sara Carter Show. And we are going to discuss the ins and outs of what's happening in the White House. These are like, the secret things that you never hear about, the inside scoop, so to speak. What is happening in this insane administration? I can say that. I can say insane administration because I'm actually an investigative columnist and I can say those things now, which it feels so freeing. But Reagan Reese is doing the hard work. She's down there in the trenches with the White House reporters trying to figure out what Joe Biden is mumbling half the time and trying to hold Karine Jean-Pierre accountable for the craziest lies that come out of her mouth that even leave Democrats astonished. Like, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. She is like, I think, won the award for press secretary of the lying year. I have no idea. But I feel sorry for her too, because I feel like, what else can she do? I mean, that's her job, right? Her job is to keep Biden from walking off stage and literally walking off the world. Like, I really feel like that could actually happen to President Biden. So do you feel confident in the Biden administration's leadership? Do you? I don't think so. I don't either. Do you feel like Biden is making a dent when it comes to national and foreign policy? No. Does America look strong in front of the world? No, I don't think so. But we're going to find out why. And we're going to see from a White House reporter that literally holds the Biden administration accountable not only what she thinks, but what she's been reporting and what the rest of the White House reporters are saying behind closed doors in the West Wing. You do not want to miss this show. You do not want to miss today's show. We're going to take you folks inside 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and get to the heart of Biden's failure. But first, we're going to talk about what can make your heart stronger in these very trying times. And that is human super beets, folks. Human super beets. Paired with a healthy lifestyle, the antioxidants in super beets are clinically shown to be nearly 2 times more effective at promoting normal blood pressure than healthy lifestyle alone. I know this. I'm actually on the road right now. I'm in Annapolis, Maryland, and I carry my super beets with me. I took them this morning. I feel awake. I feel alive. I feel great, right? And I do that not only to get those antioxidants, but to also support my circulation and my blood pressure. And it's super easy, and they taste great. Supporting healthy blood pressure, remember, like I said, it comes with a bonus. Super Beet Heart Chews support healthy circulation. So you not only get that blood pressure support, folks, but you also get productive, heart-healthy energy without the crash. Double your potential with Super Beets Heart Chews. Get a free 30-day supply of Super Beet Heart Chews and 15% off your order by going to getsuperbeets.com and using promo code Sara. That's S-A-R-A. That's getsuperbeets.com, promo code Sara. I'm so happy to have Reagan on the show. Reagan Reese is the White House correspondent for the Daily Caller. You're doing amazing work, Reagan. You have a lot on your shoulders. Thank you so much for being a part of the Sara Carter Show.
Thanks so much for having me, Sara.
Oh, no, I'm grateful to have you on. You've done some really incredible work. First and foremost, I want to thank you for interviewing my husband, Martin Bailey. I thought that was awesome that you got an interview. You got him to talk on an interview. I told him, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to talk to Reagan. She's going to be great. And he's not very comfortable talking to reporters, but he loved talking to you. What was that like, interviewing all these tier 1 guys for your story?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of came to us just in the morning meeting. We were talking about Israel and Biden's response to Israel. And he had just gotten back from a trip to Israel, and the White House was kind of touting the fact that he had been to 2 war zones in his presidency and No one else has done that. He's been to Ukraine and Israel. And I, wanted to talk to veterans and say, do you think that's impressive? Do you think it's impressive that a president has been to these war zones? And the veterans I talked to kind of just said to me, well, what's the big deal? It was almost like I was presenting them with something that they didn't understand, why this would be a bragging point, because they've been in more dangerous situations. And they were the defense. They were the people who were protecting the country, where Joe Biden is going with protection to these countries. And, Hamas knows not to make an attack on Joe Biden, or the United States is going to bring it. So the risk of him going, it's pretty low. And we also talked about the White House posting a photo of what is presumably special operations personnel. Some have speculated that it is Delta Force, and doxing them. They have their faces in those photos while they're meeting the president, as well as some tattoos that make them recognizable. And we talked about the danger that puts them in.
Absolutely. That is one of the biggest issues for both and we talked about it on my podcast too. I had my husband on talking about that. And a lot of the men that we know, look, the most important thing for all of them is their ability to remain anonymous. They travel throughout the world. They work on operations that require their anonymity. And most of all, too, it's their families and their children that they're concerned about. Once you start opening those floodgates, and right now, especially with technology, it's going to be very easy for adversaries like China and Russia and others to be able to hone in on who these operators are and their role in the U.S. government and what they do. So I think it was a very important story. I think it's one that I would follow up on it. I mean, we've not only done that to our special operators, but we have made it almost impossible for any of our foreign agents. Those are people that are working for us and supporting the United States overseas, to do their job and not be maybe targeted by their own home nation, especially if it's an adversary of ours. So we've lost a lot of people that were willing to work for the United States. Something to think about because I know it's a big, big deal. I think we know the same Chicago Alderman. This is a really great story, and it's one that's very dear to my heart. And it's Raymond Lopez is furious with the Biden administration for linking border funding with foreign aid. Let's just break it down right now. Nearly $106 billion in an aid package that would give $61 billion to Ukraine and $14.3 billion to Israel, $13.6 billion to the nation's border crisis, with $1.4 billion of the funds going to state and local governments struggling to handle an influx of migrants. And by the way, there's so much more money than that. And you broke it down so well in your story at the Daily Caller. Talk a little bit about what you're hearing from Alderman Lopez and what you're hearing from your sources on this.
So I talked to Democratic leaders in Chicago and New York, and I've talked to them previously about the crisis, and they had contacted the White House before and asked for help. And they told me before, we feel ghosted by the White House. There's been little talks. He's extended some aid and some communication to Governor Hochul, but other than that, they just feel like they're kind of being ignored. And so I went back to them, and now, we're seeing the Biden administration wants to give aid to these cities. Do they feel excited? Do they feel justified, like this is going to help their problem? And they were kind of offended that this is being linked in to international problems, to problems abroad. A domestic issue that should be the first priority is being tucked into this package that has to do with Ukraine and Israel. And they stressed, these are important other issues that need funding, but make this a standalone package. And I think it was Chicago Alderman Lopez who said to me, I just feel like this should be the priority. It's important that we do give funding to Ukraine and Israel, but we really should be focusing first and foremost on the border, and that he feels he's been overlooked.
I don't disagree with him. I got to tell you, when I was in Chicago, I was blown away. I was blown away because so many migrants have been brought into the city of Chicago. They've been dumped out of buses. They have no jobs. They have nowhere to go. They're living in tents, Reagan. They're living in tents at police districts, which is like the local police stations. They're sleeping in the police station. They're sleeping in tents out in front. There's drug deals going on. I couldn't believe it myself when I was standing out there doing interviews. And I thought to myself, like, this is so important. How is this being ignored? And then you think about the money that's being allocated. All of these hundreds of millions of dollars, when you think of DHS, FEMA, your story exposes the money that they're asking for right now. As a White House correspondent, this is my thing. They don't want to answer the question to any of the White House reporters, whether it's you, whether it's Steve Doocy, whoever is asking the tough questions. Like, our border is a national security crisis. And the people that are coming in, it's a humanitarian crisis. Why are they doing it? Why do they have an open border policy? Did any of the White House reporters ever get an answer to that question? Like, why is it an open border policy? Like, what are they getting? What are we getting from his policy?
I think Karine Jean-Pierre, the White House press secretary, would say, Joe Biden, and to quote her, quote, Joe Biden has done more for the border than anybody else. And that's the answer that we get. And I did ask, here's what I laid it out for the White House. Here's what the Democratic leaders in Chicago and New York are saying. Why are we linking this funding? And they said, President Biden laid it out in his Oval Office address. All of these things are important. This is important for the democracy of America to move forward and to move forward as a country and to protect who we are. And so they think that is justifying all of linking this together, is that this is core to America and protecting America. And this is why we all have to put this in one package.
It's just incredible to me, because we've had last year over 22,000 Chinese citizens, which is 13 times more than the year before. And then I think almost 25 times more than the year before that coming into the country. So we had over 22,000 last year. We're having a rise in Syrian migrants, a rise in Iranian migration. And these are just the ones that are intercepted. They're not even the people that, come into the country out of the 1.5 million, illegals that have known gotaways or whatever. I think it's way higher than that. I think that's a number that we're just throwing out there that we use all the time because that's what we can use because they gave it to us. So all of these people are coming into the country from special interest nations. They're special interest aliens. And we're really at the highest threat levels we've ever been in. You know what? I swear, Reagan, go there and just say, no, it's unacceptable. I'm not buying that answer. You got to show me proof that your answer actually makes sense, because it doesn't make any sense. They're just doing whatever they want.
And Sara,
at our expense.
Wow, in the summer, they were thinking about putting migrants in New York in gyms, in school gyms, where there were going to be kids. And in Chicago, Chicago Public Schools also announced over the summer that they were going to use a high school as a welcome center for migrants. And so that poses a threat domestically to our nation's children. And Biden, we hear him stress this all the time. They're all of our kids. If they're all of our kids, we should be concerned about the fact that there are migrants who are potentially threatening in these gyms and putting these children in danger.
You're absolutely right, Reagan. And I was at one of those schools, PS 133 in New York City. Hi, PS 133 if you're out there. But I was there and I watched a bunch of men, literally there was maybe a 15-foot difference between the school and the gym. And I saw a bunch of guys walking out. I talked to them. They were from Venezuela. They were smoking cigarettes, and there were a bunch of bottles of liquor in the street that they had been drinking all night. So even if they weren't terrorist connected, they were drinking and smoking all around an elementary school. So I'm just like, who thought of this brilliant idea? Oh, wait, the Biden administration. You don't have to say anything to that because you are a White House reporter and I'm going to respect you on that. But this is how dangerous this is getting. Did you know that poor sleep can cause weight gain, mood issues, poor mental health, and lower productivity? Yes. And I can tell you that I have been a recipient of all of those beautiful side effects of poor sleep. It stinks. Well, I don't want that to happen to you anymore because it's not happening to me anymore with Beam Dream. I know it sounds awesome, right? And so beautiful. Beam Dream. You know, we've been raving about Beam Dreams powder, their healthy hot cocoa for sleep. And today, listen to this. My listeners get a special discount on Beam's Dream powder, their best-selling healthy hot cocoa for sleep with no added sugar. Now available in delicious flavors like sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, and chocolate peanut butter. Better sleep has never tasted so good. Listen to this. A recent clinical study revealed Dream helped 93% of users wake up feeling more refreshed, and 93% reported that Dream helped them get a more restful night's sleep. Just mix Beam Dream into hot water or milk, stir the froth, and enjoy before bedtime. It tastes delicious. I love the cinnamon cocoa. It's incredible. And the peanut butter cocoa is amazing. You guys will not regret this. You can even take it with you. It comes in these nice little packages. You can pack them when you travel, and you can have a nice cup of hot cocoa before you go to bed and feel good about it and wake up in the morning refreshed, just like we do in the Carter household. If you want to try Beam's best-selling Dream powder, take advantage of their biggest sale of the year and get up to 50% off for a limited time when you go to shopbeam.com/Sara Carter and use code CYBER, CYBER at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/SARACARTER and use code CYBER, CYBER, for up to 50% off. Let me ask you this. Biden's losing a lot of support right now. I mean, this is a big deal for the White House. We've seen his poll numbers drop. He's losing support among his own party. You mentioned it yourself. You're on the phone lines with Democrats. You're not just talking to Republicans. You're talking to everybody. What is the feeling in the White House about this? What are you hearing, in the hallways of the West Wing about what is happening with the Biden administration? And what do they plan on doing to try to turn those poll numbers around?
Yeah, so I wrote a story based off of the Washington Post reporting last week that young Democrats are also just not interested in voting for Biden in 2024 because he hasn't given enough support to Palestinian civilians. The Biden administration is giving $100 million in United States aid to Gaza, to Palestinian civilians. This is after the United Nations reported that some of their aid was, stolen by Hamas that was meant for Palestinian civilians. So there is that threat there that you could be directly funding terrorists by giving that aid. And so I could understand the hesitancy by the Biden administration to give more. There are some senators who believe that we shouldn't be giving any at all because of this threat.
Stop. This is blowing my mind. Once again, I am like mind blown. Okay. I just have to stop right here because this is such an important story. This is probably the most important thing you and I have discussed in this whole conversation, other than every horrible policy this administration has pulled out of there. I don't even know where. How is it? And I was on the phone with friends, Jewish friends, as well as, Israeli friends, trying to comprehend how young American people, after the horrific attacks in Israel, where I just have to say this, I think this story did not let me sleep for 3 days. So I want everyone to hear it, because anybody who sides with Hamas or Gaza right now, because Gaza, any money that pours into Gaza is going right into Hamas. I absolutely agree with the assessment on that. What is the answer that you are getting from the young people that you're talking to, or what you're hearing in Washington, as to why there is this growing anti-Israel, anti-Semitic hate that we're seeing across the board?
Well, if this crisis, if this war didn't if we get anything out of this, it really, I think, shines a light that the higher education system is broken. It's corrupt. This is where we're seeing these kids, we're seeing these pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas rallies are happening on college campuses across the country. We're seeing kids sign on to these letters that they're backing these attacks, that they're, against the Biden administration for being pro-Israel. I think it can be traced back to K through 12 education. There is a type of curriculum called ethnic studies that kind of pushes decolonization, that pushes some anti-Semitic beliefs, and that could be where some of these kids are starting to, for lack of better terms, be indoctrinated. And so I think it's starting at these universities where they're just not aware or getting a different message about this war. I think it's really fascinating to see how there are almost two types of realities in this whole war situation, that there are people who think that the exact opposite is happening down in the Israel-Hamas crisis, in this Israel-Hamas war. I can't speak to why these people exactly are understanding or seeing it this other way. It's just fascinating to see these two different realities.
Yeah, it's almost like two absolutely different planets, right? And no matter how much the reality is what we know to be a fact, right? I always say there's a truth, right? There is truth. When I was in the war zones and I saw terrible things sometimes, it was exposed to someone's death or somebody's son or daughter on the front lines, losing their life. That's a horrible thing to be exposed to, but it's a fact. It's a reality of war. And we see those realities, but it's almost like there's some middle ground. It's like we're teaching our children that reality isn't really reality, that there's this middle ground of gray that they live in, and that you could be anything you want to be. You could be a hippo if you want. You could be a cat if you feel like it. You don't have to listen to the reality of this side, and that people are just completely, let me just say it frankly, people are completely effing crazy now. And I just can't, I'm going to just be frank, I just can't get over that our American populace, and especially our young people, are seeing it that way, like a good majority of them. I am so grateful for you, though. I am so grateful for young professional journalists that are doing their job, that are holding, and especially young women. I think it's so important. And I want to stress that for all of you out there listening to Reagan, she is a brilliant young journalist. She works in the White House and has to put up with that every single day. And I won't even say what that is, but she knows. She has to put up with that every single day. And she wants to get the truth to you and the American public. And these are the young people that we really need to be supporting. We really need to be following them on all their social media. We need to be reading their stories. We need to be writing to their editors and thanking them for having them do such important work for the American public. You really are a part of this great republic, Reagan. And your job is, frankly, more important than you even realize. Okay, now, one quick secret. I want to know, what are people saying around the White House about Biden and 2024? Is there any inkling that somebody else may be replacing him? What's going on there?
I think it's pretty tight-lipped. It's interesting because I think everybody's kind of speculating. Kamala Harris on 60 Minutes this Sunday said Joe Biden's very much alive and he's very much running. We do know that he is alive. I do think that's a fair and accurate point. I have Democrat strategists who do believe that, the president is going to run. They do think he should be worried about the polls where America is saying they're worried about, 80-year-old, almost 81-year-old President Biden in his age and kind of these slip-ups that he has. But my strategists also think that Joe Biden can win the election because, we've seen stories highlighted about Trump is also having some slip-ups And because he is also, around that same age range, still in the 70s, but still, getting to that age close to Biden where they start to kind of have a few blunders. So I think their confidence.
I have those all the time.
Right. But I
don't know where it's coming from, but I'm having blunders.
I do think they're confident that Joe Biden can still win the election. It's, really interesting to me to see California Governor Gavin Newsom go to Beijing and try to work on Chinese-United States relationships, even though he's not running for president. The Biden administration doesn't seem too worried about.
Wait. Well, didn't he tackle like a little kid on the basketball court and then overly pat him on the back because he was so embarrassed? He was trying to cover it up. I don't know. I saw a meme or something on Twitter. Am I wrong? Or on X? What's going on with that?
He was playing basketball, and I will say, Gavin Newsom has some pretty good handles. He has some ball control, but he probably shouldn't be playing basketball in dress shoes. And it looks like he slips over his dress shoes and takes the child with him. And then, that had to hurt. And so I think he's patting the kid on the back, like trying to make fun of the moment. But I can't imagine that kid isn't a little bruised up from that.
That is so awesome. This is like the future of America if Gavin Newsom becomes our president. He will trip over some nation and then playing basketball and then try to soothe things over by beating the crap out of that nation's back. Literally. I don't even know if the kid got more hurt by Gavin Newsom tripping over him or by his patting of the back. But I do think he does have some kind of a good handle there. I think he shouldn't be playing with little kids anymore, and certainly not in dress shoes, because it's just a making for a disaster.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think Gavin Newsom can dunk. He's pretty tall. And if we're gonna have anybody playing basketball against foreign nations, maybe let's put Governor Youngkin against foreign nations playing basketball. I know he's like a former basketball player. He seems like he might actually be able to stay on his feet.
You know what, Reagan? You've been awesome. I can't wait to have you back on the show. Tell everybody where they can follow you, Reagan.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram, Reagan Reese, super easy, ReaganReese.
Thank you so much, Reagan, for coming on the show. Truth-seeking journalists are so important to our democracy, and we need to support those who ask the tough questions. It's not an easy job, folks. It's literally a lifetime battle at the office, investigating and trying to get to the truth so that you can make the most informed decision at the ballot box and the most informed decisions for your family. Please make sure that you're subscribed to the Sara Carter Show here on your favorite podcast app. It really helps. Follow me on Truth at Sara Carter Official, on X at Sara Carter DC, and on Instagram at SCarterDC. God bless you. God bless our great nation. God bless the beautiful nation of Israel, that she may heal and find time to pray for all of us, folks. We're literally on the verge of World War III. And God bless the great state of Texas. I can't wait to get back home.
Folks, what happens when we die? Right now, from Angel Studios, the force behind Sound of Freedom and The Chosen, comes an unprecedented deep dive into the phenomena of near-death experiences in the new movie, After Death. I'm so excited to see this film. This is a subject that I think matters so much to all of us. It's the big question, right? Are we alone? Where do we go from here? Is there a God, right? After Death makes a courageous venture into a hotly debated, mysterious subject by comparing near-death experience with cutting-edge scientific knowledge. Hear from experts in the fields of science, philosophy, and medicine, as well as firsthand experiences of people who have lived through death as they paint a fascinating picture of life in the next realm. I know so many of us struggle with this, right? We've had loved ones who have passed away. We wonder if they're still with us, if they hear us, if they know that we're there. We wonder, is there something more to life than just the world that we live in? I absolutely do believe in that. I absolutely have a deep faith in God. And I believe that this isn't it, that our journey is far longer than we can ever imagine, that we go far beyond this world and this realm. And I think this movie is important right now. Why? Because it gives us hope. I think we live in a world where we see so much pain, and so many of us and so many of our youth, and I especially believe like for teenagers and people in college, they're struggling so much, even with their own faith, that a film like this can kind of set them in the right motion, right? Set them in the right trajectory. And it opens up our minds to the possibilities, right? And that is a good thing. And personally, I just think it's fascinating. This is a groundbreaking project. It responds to the soul's innate desire to find meaning in life and solace in the future. Come see it for yourself and pay it forward by providing a free ticket for others to see the film. I'm super excited. I'm going to go with my family this weekend. I think it's much better than watching some really ghoulish, scary film that's going to make me feel horrible around Halloween. I want to watch something that's going to uplift me. Leave your preconceptions at the door and prepare for a never before seen glimpse into what the next life could entail in after death in theaters now. Get your tickets today and pay it forward at angel.com/Carter. That's angel.com/Carter. After death, the end is only the beginning. Rated PG-13.